Hey everybody, it's Lenora from It's a New Dawn. I am an RN holistic health coach and I am passionate about health and wellness. And I am coming to you today on what's today? March 21st, March 20th,
21st.
21st. It's the first day of spring here in New Jersey, and it is such a beautiful day today. Went out and ran 4.5 miles and feel really good. And I am sitting here with a gentleman from Utah. His name is Adam Platt, and he is an achievement coach, a husband, and a father to 5 daughters. I have 4 sons and a daughter, but that to me is a lot easier than 5 daughters. I come from a family of 11, actually. My brother passed away, but 7 daughters, 7 girls, and 4 boys.
Wow.
Not easy. God bless you. He and his wife run a coaching and training company together called Arise to Connect. He loves helping people live the life they want to by helping them achieve greater success in life. He helps people get clear on what they want, set goals to achieve those goals, and a plan to get there. He also helps people overcome those things that keep them from moving forward and helps them get unstuck. So I want to hear how you do all that. And I'm going to turn the camera over to you, Adam.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I really do appreciate it. This is awesome. I'm so excited to share a few insights that I can with your audience and those people who listen. And yeah, my story goes back. Well, it starts. There's so many layers to somebody's story, right? But I grew up very shy, very reserved. And the reason for that was I had a learning disability when I was in school. I felt like I was the dumb kid in school. And, I struggled with reading and writing and spelling. And I could tell there was something different about me because I had different spelling tests than the other kids because I couldn't do the harder words. So my teachers would give me easier words to spell, and I'd have to go to what here in Utah we call resource. It's kind of like special ed or whatever. It's a special class where we'd go and get extra help from people. And it was just I felt like I was always the dumb kid. So because of that, I didn't really talk to a lot of people. I was really standoffish. I didn't want them to think I was stupid and say something dumb, right? Like all little kids, they're scared of what people are going to think, I think. And that was me to a T. Like I was super scared when I was at home. I was super outgoing and fun. I'd run around the house and my parents were like, he's a normal kid. But then they'd go meet with my parents and they're like, he's so shy and so doesn't say much. And they're like, really? He's so different at home. And
I can relate to that because do you want to share what the learning disability was or?
Yeah, it just so it wasn't like I know a lot of people when they say learning disabilities, it's like I had dyslexic or different things. And basically mine when we went and had my test done and those types of things, it basically was just there was just something not firing right in my brain. Like there was some chemical or something, and my father had it. I have a brother that has it. My oldest daughter had the kind of same thing. And basically when I got into older, like junior high, once I hit puberty, basically, something chemically happened in my brain and things started working like, okay. And so I didn't have like this major, like, weird, again, I wasn't dyslexic or anything like that.
Okay. So you weren't diagnosed with anything. It was just,
no,
okay.
The way the doctor,
and it's funny because you put a label on something, then you associate that with that label. Then I am this or I am that, so maybe it was better that you weren't diagnosed with something specific.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? Like, because I know, like, if I said to somebody as a trainer, no, your glutes are really weak, you get that in their head and it's like, my glutes are, I know that's a really lame correlation, but even doctors, like you go to a doctor and you're like, you have this and it's embedded in your head. That's saying a lot. I don't know. So
no, and that makes a lot of sense. And you're right. You're exactly right. Because lots of times we're told we have, ADHD or you're dyslexic or you're, some kind of mental illness or something like that. Right. And then all of a sudden, like, that's the thing that we take on as our identity. And
it's your label. That's
yeah,
your label.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we take that on. And so many people do that in their life. And, it kind of comes back to the story of, I love the story of Thomas Edison when he got basically sent home from school with a note from his teacher. And the note basically said, your son is too stupid to be here. He can't learn. We can't teach him. And his mom read it, and Thomas basically said, what does it say, Mom? And she's like, it says that you're too smart for that school. And so I'm going to teach you at home. And,
oh my God, I didn't know this story.
Yeah, it's like it completely shifted his identity.
Right.
Right? Instead of
exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly.
What a great mom.
Yeah, okay. It's amazing. And obviously he went on to, there's so many stories about him, having a positive attitude and having like all these things that he accomplished in life and so many amazing things. And a lot of it started with that identity that his mom distilled in him. And unfortunately, my identity was it was taken on because of this ability I had. I knew I was different. So I associated that with, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm the dumb kid in class. And unfortunately, that really caused problems with my self-esteem and my confidence. And of course, like I say, when I got into about junior high, things started kind of clicking. But by that point, the damage is done, right? Like your identity is kind of almost set by that point. Mm-hmm. I kind of is associated with like, hey, I'm still this stupid kid. And even though things made more sense, I was able to read and, I got to grade level reading. I was doing fine as far as learning goes, but I was still associated myself with the dumb kid. Right. And I was never going to go on and get a college education or any of those types of things. I was going to have to get a job. It was probably going to be a manual labor job. I was going to work my butt off and hopefully move up in the company. Cause back when I was younger, that's what people did, right? People got jobs and they worked there for 30, 40, 50 years and they worked their way up and they made money. But that unfortunately in this day and age doesn't work that well. Right.
Yeah. It's way different now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially since COVID.
Yeah.
Especially since things have shifted so much for me, myself also. Yeah, things have definitely changed.
So anyways, I graduated from high school, which was a feat in itself because like I said, I just didn't do very well in school. And I did have little shifts here and there. I remember being my senior year, like, all my friends were doing really well. They were, seemed like they hardly had to try to get a good grade. Like they'd, study the night before a test, they'd ace the test. And I'm like, I'm going to work my butt off. I'm going to get a 4.0. And that never happened. I think I got like a 3.9 was the highest I ever got, but that was still good. And I did really, I felt good about working hard. And I guess what I did learn from that is that I did have to work harder than everybody else. And that did serve me well throughout my life and still serves me well now, is that I knew that I have to work harder than other people. So a lot of good learning points from that. But anyways, I graduated from school. I met a woman that I fell in love with, and she had a lot of faith in me, luckily, and she inspires me and pushes me all the time to be better. And she tells me all the time that, especially after we got married, like you're not dumb, you're smart. And so she was my biggest cheerleader. And so she's been amazing, and we're still married, and we have the 5 daughters, like you said, and things still.
What are the ages? What are the ages of your daughters?
19. My oldest is 19, and we have a 17-year-old, a 10-year-old. So we have a little bit of a gap there, and then we have twins that are 7. So.
Oh, so beautiful.
Yeah.
How many years you're married?
This will be 21 years in this August. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Did you have supportive parents also? Were they
I did.
supportive?
My parents were great. And that's another, I guess, part of my story I failed to leave out. The day I graduated, and I remember that day is a big day for every kid, right? When they graduate from high school, they're so excited. They're becoming, an adult and they get to go out on their own. And I remember being there with my friend. I had Lance and Mark and Dave, and we were getting pictures with each other in our gowns, and our grandparents were there in front of my house. And I remember, that day being super amazing. And I also remember my mother coming up to me and she's like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you. I didn't think you could do it." And she didn't mean it in a mean way,
I
right?
know she didn't.
And that was her way of saying, I'm so proud of you. But she was, to me, it's like, oh, my mom didn't even believe in me. And she was.
Words are powerful. Words are so powerful, right?
Yeah. And my parents, and I don't want to give the wrong impression. My parents were very supportive. My mother would do everything she could to help me. She'd go to the school districts and say, "Hey, Adam needs this teacher. Like, this is the teacher that's right for him." And she'd go to bat for me and things. So they were very supportive. But I remember that moment when she said that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my mom didn't think that I could graduate from high school. And it was kind of a turning point in my life. And so in my life, when I started having kids, I'm like, I'm never going to tell my kids that they can't do something. I'm always going to make sure they understand that you can do anything you put your mind to, and you can accomplish anything that you want to accomplish. And so because of that, there was a point in my life where I'm like, you know what? I think maybe I need to go back to school. And I started kind of playing with it, like, go get a college education. And I'm like, but school is not my thing. I'm not very good at it. But my job was telling me if I wanted to move up, I had to get a more education. And like they always do, they always want you to go and get a college education. And I had a few other coworkers who were like, we should all go to school together. And so
what kind of job were you working at? What kind of job was
yeah, I was in the aerospace industry. So I was a production planner at the time. So for an aerospace company. And so it was kind of an entry level position type thing. But a bunch of us who did kind of the same job were like, we should go get a college education, because they're telling us if we want to move up, then we need to have more education. So through some positive peer pressure, I came home and I said, "Hey, honey, I think I'm going to sign up for college." And so I submitted my application. I think there was about 4 of us that all applied at the same time. We all got accepted, and we started school together, which was good. It was great to have some people that I knew.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
You all went as a friend thing.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that's really cool. It's a nice form of support and community.
It was
really
good. And again, there is such a thing as positive peer pressure, which that was really good positive peer pressure for me. It forced me out of my comfort zone and caused me to go back to school. So I started school, and I told myself, like, I'm going to work my tail off. I'm going to get good grades. I'm going to do everything. And I want to get this done as fast as I can. I'm not taking breaks. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to get this done in 4 years or less. And some of the other people I started school with, they would be like, oh, we went through like 4 or 5 classes, and they're like, I'm burned out. I just need a break. So they'd take a class off, and I'm like, oh, nope, I'm still going. And so the other ones, they took a little longer, but I ended up graduating in less than 4 years. I think it was 3 years and 8 months or something like that. Cause I just,
in a degree in what? A degree in what?
Business. Yeah. Business management.
Good for you. Good for you.
And I worked really hard. I ended up getting a 3.93 GPA was my final. So I graduated with honors or high honors. And it was a really neat day for me. And I did it for a couple of reasons. Number one, I did it to prove to myself that I could do it. And number two, I wanted to prove to my kids, because we had a couple of our daughters at that point, and I wanted to prove to them that, hey, if I can do it, anybody can do it. You guys can do this. If you set your mind and put forth the effort and the time and the energy, you guys can accomplish anything.
Can I say a little bit about, it's so parallel. I have a severe hearing disability.
Oh.
So I went back to school to be a nurse at the age of, I graduated when I was 47. And I graduated in 2011. So same thing. I wanted to prove I have 5, and I wanted to prove that even with disability, even with, you can do this. So that was the proudest day. It was hard as freaking hell. I mean, and I graduated 3.3.
That's awesome.
Not as close as you,
Oh,
but
that's great. That's awesome.
I was so proud. So I felt the same way. I felt the same way that you can just not, if for nothing else, to prove to my kids that you can do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one. And you
Yeah.
gave them a really great gift, because my kids are all that way. Like, they can do anything. So
Yeah. And I tell them that all the time, that they can accomplish anything, especially in this day and age. Like, there's so many resources, there's so many opportunities, and it, it, it can be hard, but it can be so easy at the same time. So, yeah, it's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's so cool that you did that at 47. That's amazing.
yeah.
That's so neat.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm really proud of that. Really
That
proud of that.
great accomplishment.
And I'm 56 now, and my hearing has gotten a lot worse. So I had to kind of get out of the whole clinical aspect of nursing, but I had a really nice run. I worked with Alzheimer's patients and kids with mental issues, and I was in school nurse for a few years, and beautiful. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful time. So
That's way
yeah,
cool. Thanks for
thank
sharing.
you. Thank you. This
So
is your podcast, though. So
no, that's good. It's good to bring out any inspiration for anybody, for sure. So
thank you.
very awesome. So yeah, so I just wanted to prove to my kids that if I could do it, anyone could do it. And so fast forward a few years, and we had our third daughter, and then we had our twins, and I kind of had this itch, like, oh, maybe I need to go get a master's degree again. Like, I got my degree, and my employer kind of did oh, good job, great for you, we're excited that you did that. And I think I got like an extra 2% raise or something. Like, it just wasn't much, though. It wasn't kind of what was promised, or what I guess expected. My expectations of what would happen after I got my degree, they just kind of said, well, good, we're glad you did that, good for you. And
Wow.
nothing really much came out of it. So after we had the twins, my kind of school itch started coming back, and like, oh, maybe I need to go get a master's degree. And but I was like, again, I started feeling that, like, kind of that, like, anxiety.
I know exactly what you felt like, because I love school, because I had the same thing with you in school, same as you in school. I sunk in the back of the class because I couldn't hear, wasn't addressed growing up. And when I got home, my nickname was the leech, and my father called me a spark plug because I was crazy and but in school, like this, and hated school. And then once I went to nursing school, I was the same way. I felt like, what's that? What else? And to this day, I still learn.
Yeah.
Because I love it.
Yep. I'm the same
So
way.
I hear you. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So I felt this kind of, this anxiety of like, oh, do I really want to go back to school? Like, it's one thing to get a bachelor's degree. It's another thing to get a master's degree. It's going to be so much harder. And I finally decided, you know what, I got to do it again. Like, I got to prove to myself I can do this. I got to prove to my kids that I can do it. And so I went, and I was nervous because I wanted to do it in business. So I wanted to get a degree, my MBA. And lots of times, most schools require you to take a GMAT. It's a big test you have to go and take to get into the program. And I was nervous about that. I'm never have been a good tester. So it's always scared me, like SAT, ACT, all that in high school was just really horrible. I hated them and never did very well on them. And so, but I went and talked to the school, and the school I was looking at here in Utah said, you know what, if you've got a professional background, then you don't need to have, like, if you have so many years of professional background, you don't have to take the test. You can still be accepted. I'm like, oh, sweet. So I filled out my
Yes.
form. Like, oh yeah, you absolutely qualified, the things you've been doing. At that point, I kind of had moved over into the program management side of the business, and kind of a lower end program manager. But so I had the professional ability to not have to take the test, which was a big win for me. I was like, oh, thank goodness I don't have to take that silly test. So I got accepted into the program and I started going to school. And again, my wife was kind of like, all right, let's do this. Like, I'm going to be a single parent because I'm working full time. I'm going to school full time. And it's just going to take me 2 years. She's like, I'm going to be an only parent, I guess, for the next 2 years because you're going to be doing homework and going to class and, writing papers and all that stuff. And she's just been a true champion. And anyways, I went through that and I had a few setbacks. I had one of my classes, finance, I didn't do very well in. I had to get a C in order to pass to go continue on the program, and I got a C minus. I'm like, oh,
no.
so I had to read the test. And at that point, I wanted to quit. Like, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And I have to retake this class again. And, it was just awful. And my wife's like, you know what, just let's do it. You can do it. It's okay. I had to pay for it again, which again is another financial thing because we were paying it for out of pocket for everything.
And you had a whole bunch of children and
yeah,
kudos to your wife.
So yeah, it was a big kind of crazy thing. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this done. And we talked about it. And again, she cheerleaded me on. She worked me through it. And I went. And here's one thing I really want to point out is when you fail, like I did in that class, is number one, get back up. Number two, create a plan. Like, how can I do this differently? How can I create a plan, come up with a strategy to do it better next time? And so I did. I went and I talked to the professor, said, hey, what can you do? What can we do about this? This was kind of a struggle. And we came up with the plan. He's like, well, you did really well on this part, so you don't have to do that again. I'll move your grades over from these parts of the assignments and I'll just move them over into the next time you take it. And so you can just focus on more of this side of it that you didn't do as well on. And that was a super big, helpful part of it. And so I came up with a plan of how to do it better. And anyways, I took the class again and got an A minus, just completely aced it. I knew what I had to focus on and where I need to, where my weaknesses were. And so I just focused on those and where I need to improve on. And so when you fail, like, just get up, create a plan and move forward. And that was a big learning point in my life with failure. Because I think
this is why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's a part of it. There's so many layers of everything.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. But that was your incentive to do this whole thing with your wife. And we're going to get to that, I'm sure. I mean, you're leading us up to that.
It was a beautiful moment in my life where I'm like, you know what, this has gotta, I just gotta push through this. And anyways, I did graduate. I got my MBA, which was a huge accomplishment for me.
That is awesome. Congratulations on that one.
First out of my siblings to get a master's degree. I have other siblings that have like an associate's or bachelor's, but I'm the only one of my siblings that has a master's degree. And that to me says a lot, considering I was the kid who my mom wasn't even sure I was going to graduate from high school. And here I am, now got an MBA. Beautiful. And things like that. But yeah, like there's just all these little twists and turns in our lives that lead us on our path of where we want to go and where we end up. And one of those other moments in my life was right after our twins were born. My wife and I we were struggling a lot. So that was about 7 years ago. And we were struggling. It was before I went to go get my master's degree. But we were just struggling in our relationship. We were struggling financially because, again, I hadn't got the big pay raises or anything that I wanted. And now we have 5 kids and they're expensive. And I felt like a failure because I wasn't supporting my family like I should have. And I was just really down on myself, getting depressed, felt like I was letting everyone around me down. And I remember I would go to work and I was kind of ornery most of the time. I wasn't fully invested in it. And I would come home and I would just be like, my wife would say I was in another one of my moods, which were happening more and more frequently at that point in our life. And I came home one day and I was in one of my moods. And my wife is like, you know what? I'm just going to I'm going to take the kids over to my parents for a few hours and just let you be by yourself.
Boy, I like your wife a lot. Your wife is a gem.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be like that.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, you know what? I'm going to just let you work through whatever you need to work through. And
Did the right thing. She did
she
the
did
right
the right
thing.
thing. But at the time, like I was in such a dark place. And again, I was going down this level of desperation and depression because I just felt like I was this failure. And I remember she laughed with the kids, and I was sitting there by myself, and I had this thought come to my head, like maybe the world would be a better place without me.
Oh,
And that really, I started playing with that thought, and it's just kept going through. And again, my wife she wasn't mean, she wasn't anything, but I felt like she was abandoning me. She wasn't, like she was just getting away for a few hours, letting me be by myself.
she was giving you space.
Yeah. But I took it as like, she doesn't love me. She doesn't want to be around me. And maybe the world would just be better without me.
Oh, I'm sorry you felt that way.
Yeah. And this is probably the real key turning point in my life. And so I started coming up with a plan to take myself out of this world. And I remember sitting in our room on our bed, and I was about ready to to implement my plan. So basically I was going to take a bunch of pills that we had, and I was going to just, fall asleep and not wake up. And I remember sitting there about ready to start doing it. And this very distinct thought came into my head. And I believe, and I don't know what people's religious beliefs are or whatever, but I believe it came from a higher power. It was not a thought that I came from myself. And the thought was, what would your wife do without you? What would your kids do without you? And that really just made me break down and start crying. And I know I'm not the first man to not do something stupid because of the thoughts of their kids and their family, their wife. But that just like completely changed my whole life. And I knew something had to change within myself. And I had to stop blaming everybody for not being where I wanted to be. So I didn't know what the change was at the time, but I knew something had to change. So my wife came home and I explained to her what happened. She's like, why would you think that? Why would you even consider doing that? That's ridiculous. And of course we talked about it and we walked through it. She's like, don't ever think that ever again. But it changed my life. It changed my whole perspective. And I remember we were not long after that, we were at a little shop, and they had these signs, these kind of inspirational signs and stuff like that. And one sign, it was this nice, big, beautiful sign that says, never give up. And I looked at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, I told my wife, I have to have that sign. Like that is exactly what I feel in my life right now. It's just, I can't give up. And so we bought it. It was like $30 or something like that. And we hung it above our front door. So it's hanging above our front door right now. And it's a great reminder, not only for me, but for my kids to just never give up, never stop. When life gets hard, when things get tough, keep going, keep pushing forward and never give up. And so that was a great reminder. But I love that moment in my life where that really all changed. And so fast forward, my wife and I got kind of sucked into the self-help industry, self-development, and it completely changed our life. I kind of got roped into it, kind of kicking.
Well, when you say sucked in, I just actually talked about this on one of the Clubhouse rooms I was in. If you're not on Clubhouse, you should be. But we were talking about, I said, I used to have all the self-help books and all, but and it's all great, but you gotta implement it.
Yeah.
You can read a stack of self-help books for years and get it all in your head, but if you don't implement the tools, not going anywhere.
You're exactly right.
I mean,
no, you're exactly
my opinion. So there's nothing wrong with self-help books, and it helped you because you're in this business now. So I'm sure that's why.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. My like I said, we kind of got sucked in. I never had done much self-help, at least not knowingly, I guess. A little bit here and there, maybe, but we kind of got sucked into it. My parents gave me some my wife and I some tickets to an event here in Utah. And I kind of was like, this is dumb. Like, cause it's foo-foo. It's people jumping up and down and acting all crazy and weird. And I don't know if it's for me, but I went. My wife's like, maybe this is what we need. Let's go check it out. So we went. And I remember sitting in the very back row, and it was a pretty big. There was probably close to 1,000 people there, so pretty decent size room. And we sat in the very, very, very back row. And I sat there with my arms folded at first, and then yeah,
like with a pout on your face.
Right. And for those who have been to an event like that, the people
and your legs shaking, like, what am I doing here? I'm just saying, my husband would do that.
Yeah. The people who go to those types of things, there's two kinds of people who sit in the very back. There's the people who don't want to be there and the people who want to network. And those are the two types of people who sit in the very back. So that was us. We were sitting in the very back. And but partway through the day, it was within probably the first couple hours of the event, the presenter said something, and I'm like, something just clicked. And I don't even remember what it was at this point, but because so many things just started firing that day. But he said something clicked. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I've been looking for. That's what's missing. That's what's the thing that I know has been coming up in my life that I need to find. And from that, it was a 3-day event, and we went all 3 days, and it was just amazing. It was life transforming for us. And we came home and we started implementing, like you said, like if you don't implement it doesn't do you any good, but we started implementing the things that we learned. And as we started working on ourselves, and again, when you work on yourself and you stop blaming everybody, you take responsibility for your life and you stop blaming everybody for your problems, or because you don't have that raise that you want, or that job that you want, or that, that world's out to get you. When you stop thinking like that and you take responsibility and you start working on yourself, everything changes. And that's what
I'm nodding. I'm like, you're so good. You're so like, this is like, I'm just thinking about the permanent scowl face that I got so tired of looking at because I wanted to change my husband for, like, I want to say 5 years of our marriage. And then I finally looked in the mirror and I said, you ain't changing him. You got to work on yourself.
Yep.
So as you're saying that, I remember like, I can't stand this anymore. I always look angry and I'm always pissed. So you just got to work on yourself. You're not going to change other people. That's for damn sure.
Exactly.
So once you change yourself, then, then it's like, okay, I accept him for that because he's so good in every other thing. But you're so right, for sure. You can only change yourself.
Yep.
Right? Self-implement it. Right.
Yeah. So we implemented, we changed ourselves, we worked on ourselves, and you're exactly right. Like, you can't change your spouse, you can't change your kids, you can't change anybody but yourself. But when you start working on yourself and people notice that difference, things start happening. And that's what happened with our kids. Our kids started noticing, like, hey, mom and dad are different. They're happier. They're excited. They want to be around each other again. They're not fighting like they used to. They're, we're setting goals, and we were reaching goals, and we were bringing things into our life that we've never had before. And our kids are like, I want that. And they started asking us, why are you doing this? What are you doing? How's that? And as especially our older 2 daughters, and they started just seeing this huge impact on them as we worked on ourselves. It was a ripple effect that went out to our kids, and then their friends saw a difference in them, and our family, our extended family saw a difference, and it was amazing. And that's when we're kind of like, you know what, this has changed our life. We should teach other people how to do this. And so that's why we got into the coaching side of business and just helping people learn what we have learned. And so we've done tons of training. We've gone and got certifications and all these things and learned how to be coaches. And it is the most amazing thing that I have ever done. I quit my job in aerospace after 15 years to do it full time because I love changing people's lives. I love seeing when they get that little shift like I had, that, oh my gosh, I can take responsibility for my life. And nobody's coming to save me. The government isn't coming to save me. It's all on me. And when they understand that and take responsibility, and it's so neat to see that light bulb go off and be like, I am the captain of my ship and I can do what I want to do in my
All
life.
right, you got to stop now because
Too many cliches. I know.
that was a TikTok I did.
Oh, really?
The captain of your ship, because I did the analogy of what's the difference between a pilot and a doctor. And I said, well, you go to the doctor and you get he has a checklist, he's checking off everything, hopefully he'll do all the things on that checklist. Pilot has to check off everything on that plane, make sure everything is cool on that plane, right?
Right.
But the difference is the pilot is on the plane with you.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want the plane to crash, but the doctor is not. And I use it as a health thing. And I say, you are the captain of your ship. Nobody else. You are in control of your health, not the doctor, not anybody else, but you. I get the chills. Exactly what I said. And oh my God, it's so true. For sure. So, and it goes along the line with your thoughts and actions shape your reality. You have to think, even when you're not feeling it, change your story, get out of that old story, because we're so used to being comfortable in that old story. And it feels, I shouldn't be saying this. I'm sure this is all the things but yeah, I've done a lot of work on myself. That's why I'm saying, that's why these kind of things really are stuff that I want to have on the podcast, because it's definitely possible coming from somebody myself, who is always so on death's door many times. I mean, and close to suicide many times. It's possible. It's definitely possible to change your life around and be happy. I'm happier now at 56 than I've ever been in my life. So
that's amazing. You're inspiring me. Thank you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
But yeah, you're exactly right. Like you're so spot on. Like you are in charge and you have to take that, full responsibility for your life and captain that ship, like you said. And so yeah, that's why my wife and I started the company Arise to Connect, and we feel like connection is so important. That's why we do have connection in there. We feel like
connection, support, connection. How long have you had this company?
So we're going on 5 years now, where we've actually been doing it. I quit my job, not this February, but the February in 2020. So right before the whole COVID thing shut down happened. But it's been amazing. Like the whole year. Like I say, we've been doing it for a while. I was working full time as we kind of built the business, but now I do it full time, and it's just every day is amazing, connecting with people like yourself and chatting. And I have my own podcast where I bring people on and they get to share their story. And I love hearing inspiring.
I'll be on your podcast.
Come on. Yeah, let's do it.
I've been on a lot of podcasts. I've shared my story. I've also shared the benefits of restorative yoga. I'm a huge advocate for restorative yoga to bring the nervous system down. I talk about health and wellness on some podcasts, so for sure. But so it's you and your wife, like office, like you have it in your home. And I would imagine COVID didn't make such a huge difference. Maybe you do everything online, and did it make a huge impact or no?
It's kind of, I don't think it made a huge impact. And actually, to be honest with you, COVID's been kind of a blessing for us in a way, because we've been able to draw on like 401k and stuff like that and not have penalties because of the COVID, because of the relief that they've had. And so to help kind of build the business, it's allowed us to have some funds that we've been able to work on building the business. So for us, it's been a blessing, to be honest with you. And I know that, COVID has been such a horrible thing in so many ways for so many people. But if we can look at what good has come out of it, because I think there is a lot of good that has come from it, and the world has shifted in so many ways. Like I was talking yesterday with a few folks, and we're like, you know what, business has changed. The way companies do business, so many people had to go home and work from home, and now businesses are like, well, why would we buy all these buildings and have these brick and mortars to bring people in and have their offices and have to pay for the heating and the cooling and the all the resources and everything when people can work from home, and it worked fine. Like it worked great. People are happier working from home a lot of the time. And, there's less commuting. There's less people are, so there's so many things that have come out of it that's going to shift. I think even as things start opening up, here in Utah, things are going to start opening up. There's here in April, they're going to stop making us wear masks everywhere, and some bigger, with the vaccine coming out, people can start getting together more. But I think it's taught us that we can pivot as a society, and we can learn from all these crazy chaos times in our life, and we can do business over Zoom, and that's awesome. Like now, I mean, before COVID, people would be like, "Hey, let's jump on a Zoom call," and people would be like, "Oh, I don't know how to use Zoom. I don't know what that is." And
Hello.
now, yeah,
God, you are like parallel. I agree with everything you say, because I believe that almost this was necessary to teach people to get out of this comfortable state that we're all in all the time. And I also believe that we need to go through adversities to realize how lucky we are, including our kids, to see what it's like. And I didn't know anything about Zoom or anything like that. In my whole business, I don't do what I did. I mean, it's like now, as you can see, this podcast is just for my heart. I do have all this stuff, but I don't know how to use it. So my phone is hooked up on my tripod thing, and I have my little earbud in. You see, I do this for my heart. I love to do this. I love to talk. I'm not a big writer, but I love to talk. And I had to learn all these new skills, but oh my God, I'm so proud of myself, man, because I had to learn them all.
And that's a great parallel to life, right? Like as things come up, like we have to learn how to pivot and learn how to adjust and overcome, adapt, whatever you want to call it. And it's beautiful that we have been able to see that in such a large scale with the whole pandemic. And people, my parents who are in their 70s are like, I know how to use Zoom. Like everybody knows how to use Zoom.
Right?
And we can connect so much easier than we used to before. And that's not to, say that there's not super amazing benefits in connecting in person, right? Because I totally believe that. Yesterday, the last 2 days, my wife and I were at a live event. It was one of the first live events we've been able to go to in the last year. And it was amazing to be able to connect with people, like face to face, talk to them, network, connect with just amazing, their energy and everything. And it's like we've been missing that. But there's also this amazing life that we've created because of the pandemic, where we can connect, where, we're connecting so many people over Zoom, and, connection is so key. And I can't say it enough how important connection is, not only connection with others, but with yourself too. Like make sure you're connecting with yourself, connecting with
what are you, in my head?
Connect with other people. And we also believe connecting with your higher power, whatever that is for you. It could be nature. It could be God. I call him Heavenly Father. You can call him whatever you want, or whatever it is, but connect.
The universe, the higher power, God. I every time I meditate, I thank God, the universe, my angels, for that gift of being able to sit and introspection to myself for 30 minutes. Like that gift is like the best gift I ever got in my life 16 years ago. That's what I talk about with restorative yoga, the introspection and that connection to myself. We're very disconnected from our breath and our body. Absolutely. Like we live, even when we're walking in nature, we've got earbuds in our ears. We can't, when I tell a client, walk outside, feel your feet on the earth, listen to the gravel underneath your feet, the leaves, we're so disconnected in that respect. So, and I'm very tactile, like, I'm a hugger. So so for me, that was hard, but I'm very introverted also. So COVID hasn't been so horrible for me. It hasn't. But, I feel for those that are, but this is what's so great. this.
Yeah.
I just got off the phone with somebody from Florida that I don't really know, that I met all these people from TikTok, and all I'll do is I'll push FaceTime. I'll
Wow.
just like, I was on a podcast talking about kindness and gratitude, and I'm huge on the whole gratitude thing. And again, that comes from my adversities, I know. But talking about just taking my phone and going, oh, and scrolling through and saying, feeling the intuition and honing in and going, that person needs me today. And I can't tell you how many times that person we've been crying. We're like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. That's
Wow.
why when you say connection and support, you guys, so important.
Yeah.
Right up there with pillars of health and wellness, everlasting health and wellness. That's one of my pillars, the Lenora's 5 pillars. That's one of them. Community and support, for
Very
sure.
cool. I love that. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So powerful, so needed in the world. And I think that's why we have so many problems out there, is because we don't have connection with each other. We don't have connection with ourselves as much as people used to. Like, people used to go out and sit on the porch and be in nature, or, wave to their neighbors, and we just don't do that anymore. So I love the fact that you're getting on TikTok and you're connecting with people and you're chatting with them and you're crying with them. And that's
Crying.
awesome.
I'm so sensitive. It's sickening. I almost cried when you talked about your, how you felt on the bed. And because that just breaks my heart. Because, for one, somebody feeling that way, and two, that I've been there. So I'm very empathetic with that, because I can put myself there. And it's very sad to feel that way. And you're right. I mean, when I was a kid, I was playing kickball and I was in the woods doing mischievous things,
Yeah.
and bike riding. And back then there were no chemicals spraying trees, so I had inchworms flying in my face, hanging from trees. Back then, I mean, things are very different, and it's the technology, but there's so many good things about it too. So where do you go?
The world's evolved, and we just need to figure out how to connect in the world that we are in now. And it's getting harder and harder, but easier at the same time. Like it's kind of this weird parallel that we have to navigate through. And but yeah, I love what you just said. And one thing I do want to point out is my story is not unique. Like you said, you've been in those positions where you felt like you wanted to take your life, and there's so many people. Here in Utah, suicide is the number 1 killer for teens right now, and it's number 2 in the nation. And so, and I think a lot of it comes down to, we just need to connect more. We need to have that deeper connection with each other, with ourselves. And it's sad that my story is not unique, because it should be more unique, and it's not. There's so many people out there suffering from it and feel like there's no way out. And I'm here to tell you, if you get nothing else from this, just this conversation we're having today, if anybody who's listening, is there's always a way to push forward. There's always a way to get going again, and just don't give up. Just, tomorrow is a new day. The sun will rise, and you have a new opportunity every day to make it better than it was yesterday.
Do you know my company's name is It's a New Dawn?
I didn't know that. That's awesome. I love that.
It's always a new, my whole thing. Well, it's named after my sister-in-law, Dawn, who passed away from liver cancer about 15, 16 years ago. But I was meditating and it came to me, it's a new dawn. And I'm like, that's exactly what my whole thing is. Like, you wake up, there's a new opportunity. The sun will rise, just like we were saying. And there's always a new day. So I love that. You're great. You're great. But I don't even know. I mean, I know you want to talk about exactly what you do, or get into that aspect of it?
Just briefly, yeah. I hope that people who have listened, and I know we've been going for a little while, so but for those who have listened, I hope you do get something out of this. And just quickly, if you feel like you're struggling in life, if you feel like you're stuck in life, like I was, there is a way to get going again. And it starts with getting clear on what you want in life, getting completely clear, and then setting some goals and a plan to get there. And that's really what our focus is with my wife's and I's company is let's get clear on what you want. Let's get clear how your life is going to look. And then let's come up with some goals and a plan to get there. And yeah, so that's what our focus is. Let's help you become more successful and achieve what you want in life. And that's why we call ourselves achievement coaches, is because I truly believe that achievement is such a powerful thing. And there's so much around that. There's, believing in yourself. There's setting the right types of goals. There's having confidence. There's, having the right perspective, having gratitude, like you said, is such a powerful thing. Gratitude is so strong and just opens your perspective up to the possibilities. And so there's so much to it. And my wife and I, we have the tools and strategies to help you get there. So if you feel like you need help, and maybe I'm not your cup of tea, I get that, but get some help from somebody. There's so many coaches out there. Maybe it's you're struggling in your health and you need a health and fitness coach, or you're struggling in your relationships and you need a relationship coach. Our type of coaching, we feel that you can achieve in any area of your life, but some people really hone in on those certain types of things, and go find those people. Get help if you need help, if you feel stuck. So that's my message today. Don't wait to have somebody come and bail you out. You have to take control. You have to become the master of your ship, like we've talked about. So
Amen. And those were awesome last words of wisdom. So I don't have to ask you for your last words of wisdom unless you have anything else you want to share.
I don't. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You're so welcome. And everybody, all your information is going to be in the show links, but maybe you want to just mention them real quick.
So the best way to connect with me is you can go and check me out on my podcast, which I bring people on and have them tell their story as well. It's called Unleash Your Greatness. You can find it on all the main platforms: Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever. Where you can also reach out to me on Instagram. So you can find me at Arise to Connect. There's our business name, or you can go to arisetoconnect.com if you want to check out some of the programs and things that we have to offer there. So
beautiful. Just hang out 1 second. Also, you guys, same with me. I'm on all major platforms, also on YouTube. It's a new dawn, and all my information is in the show links. I also you don't receive unless you ask. And I don't really ask this a lot, but please subscribe, please listen. Please like, please comment. If you have any feedback, please give me some feedback. I mean, my Google number is always in the show notes. My email is there. My website is under construction, but it's still accessible. So you can still look and go there and find all the links to the podcast, YouTube, the Rawr bar. You guys know I always talk about the only packaged good I eat, and it's the Rawr bar. They were on my show about a week ago. They're great. They're based out of Minnesota. Young couple, Jake and Rachel. The bar is vegan, but it fits any diet. Protein, 18 to 22 grams of protein, all organic ingredients. I just love this bar. If you are on the go, instead of stopping at Wawa or whatever, throw these bars in your purse or briefcase or whatever it is. They have saved my life many a time. You can get 5% off. My affiliate link is below, and it is capital Leny, Lenny number 5. I like to be called Lenny. I like the name Lenny. So it's Lenny 5. And on that note, thank you so much for joining me. Wow, that was really fun.
It was fun. Thank you so much for having me on, and it was wonderful. So thanks.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day, everybody.